Hello everybody. I hope you're doing well. This is my first video. I think they'll get better as I go. And I'm just going to translate the assignment. I want you to follow along, compare yours, and then I want you to look at your differences, determine if they're errors or just differences, and do a little analysis of that for me. So we go a sentence at a time. O Jupiter pater, Iacus vocavit, uno meum populum totum delevit, ua me filium tuum, quem amas, et quem neglegere non debes. So we'll do the whole quote. First thing you do is find all the verbs. And I'm going to highlight those in yellow. The verb is the most important part of your sentence. Ua is a verb. It's imperative. The form's a little harder to recognize. Okay, there are the verbs in the first sentence. And then I would put brackets around, remember, relative pronouns from chapter 17, just to isolate that those things are dependent clauses. So you're going to wait on those until you've dealt with the other stuff. And then you go left to right, finding first the nominatives, then you translate the verb, and then you do the accusative. So here we start with something a little different, which is a vocative. And the reason I know it's vocative is because it's set off by commas and it's introduced by O. So he's just speaking to Father Jupiter. So you just address him, oh, Father Jupiter. And then Iacus is nominative. So translate him first, and then vocavit. Iacus called, Juno, also nominative. Juno, and then go to the verb, has destroyed, and then destroy needs a direct object, which we get from meum populum totum. Juno has destroyed my entire population. Ua, remember, imperative, it won't have a subject. Help! And then the me is its direct object. Help me! And then filium tuum, also accusative, I know that from the endings, is in apposition to me. So it just is giving more information about who the me is. Help me, your son. And now we get to the relative clause. Remember, with relative clauses, you translate the pronoun first, no matter what case it is. Quem here is accusative. And so you have to use whom. Then you translate subject verb. So whom you love and whom you ought not to neglect. So debeo is expecting a complementary infinitive, and that's what neglegere is. You just translate it right after the ought. Okay, second sentence. Deus eum audivit, et sine mora coepit formicas in homines mutare. Here, find the verbs. Audivit is one of them. The second is coepit. And then you find the nominatives. We'll make those green. Deus is one. Again, remember that Wheelock usually puts nominatives near the front. And that's it for that sentence. Accusatives will be blue. Eum, the form, tells us that's accusative. Sine mora, that's a prepositional phrase. So just put it in parentheses. Ignore it for a while. Formicas, that's accusative. And in homines is also a prepositional phrase. Mutare is another complementary infinitive. So you'll translate it right after coepit. So this sentence then says, the God heard him, and then I would translate sine mora next without delay, began, and then coepit expects an infinitive, so translate mutare next. So began to change ants into people. Third sentence, itaque Jupiter, cui nihil est nimis difficile, there's too many F's in that word, viros feminasque fecit parvis ex animalibus. So again, find the verbs. Est is one of them. Fecit is another one. I think that's it. Find the nominatives. Jupiter, Kui, we're moving left to right, is a relative pronoun. So you bracket it. Normally I would have you stop at the verb, but as you see, the editors have helped with the punctuation. So the end bracket goes after the comma. Viros and feminos, I can tell from the endings that those are accusative. Parvis ex animalibus. Here you get what I call preposition sandwich, where the adjective precedes it, the object of the preposition follows it. So that's where those parentheses come from. Nihil, I'm going back to make sure I have subjects for all my verbs. Nihil is nominative. Again, it's in front of the verb but near the front of the clause. That form is neuter, so it could be nominative or accusative, but with the verb est, I'm never looking for an accusative. All right, so now we've got the nominatives marked. Let's do accusatives. And the only two I see are viros and feminas. I think we should be ready to go. So, itakwe, with that word at the front of the sentence, just lead with it. It means and so, then translate subject. Jupiter, then you're going to ignore all this stuff in the brackets, just till you see what's going on with the rest of the clause. Jupiter made men and women. Now you'll go back and deal with the two little, first the relative clause, cui nihil, est nimis difficile. The thing to note with difficile, that is an adjective, and it happens to be nominative because it modifies nihil, or it describes nihil. So cui is a dative relative, so to or for whom, subject verb, nothing is. Nimis is an adverb and it means to. So for whom nothing is too difficult. So there's how the relative clause fits in. You'll think about the placement there. And now we have, last but not least, to deal with the prepositional phrase. So from small animals. So putting the whole thing together. And so Jupiter, for whom nothing is too difficult, made men and women from small animals. Two more sentences. Veritatemne dico, unknown. Here you're getting something we've not seen before, which is a question in the alternative. You have two choices. Again, don't address it any differently. The dico is the verb. The ne, it's worth mentioning here, that just flags that there's a yes or no question coming up. So then what we're looking at grammatically, veritatem will be blue because it's accusative, the direct object. The ne has nothing to do with the form. It's essentially a Latin question mark. So dico, the subject, you can tell from the ending, is I, or understood ego. So here we have, do I speak the truth? And then unknown means or not. And I'll let you answer that question in your own heads. And the last sentence, finally, mark the verb. Erat, erat again. Erat comes from sum. It's the imperfect. Remember, with the verb to be, you're not looking for any accusatives. And in fact, there are 0 accusatives in this sentence. Filius is nominative. Peleus is nominative. Filius is still nominative. Ille Achilles is nominative. And Dukes is nominative. Aequi and Myrmidonum are genitive, as is cuius. Notice we have another relative clause. Again, the editors have helped you do the bracketing with their commas. So you start with the subject, translate the verb, and then you translate the second nominative. This is called a predicate nominative because you translate it in English after the verb. So Peleus is a predicate nominative, as is Ille Achilles. It just means you translate it after the was in English. So the son of Iacchus was Peleus. Cuius is genitive, so whose son was that famous Achilles. And then the last two words are another appositive. They explain who is that famous Achilles. He's the leader of the Myrmidons. So that was the Greek tribe that Achilles came from, the tribe of ant people. So to close this last sentence one more time, it says, the son of Iacchus was Peleus, whose son was that famous Achilles, the leader of the Myrmidons. And that famous comes from ille. Sometimes, often, mostly, we've just translated as that, but ille can also point to something with great admiration. So to say, that amazing Achilles. And you'll see him talked about that way by Virgil. Even though Virgil mostly admired Romans and not Greeks, but Achilles was so famous that even Virgil admired him. Okay, that's it. I think you might need to put me on double speed. These will get better. I miss you guys.